Welcome to episode number 189 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We're recording live on YouTube on June 1, 2017. A ton of things to talk about this week because we took a week off last week. So kind of catching up a little, but we're staying on top of the new news as well. Among the topics we'll talk about this week are targeting teens, Facebook's quality score, Pope slaps, search bots, AR airports, food pornographers, recoded Clinton, for flyover country, Café, hotel Serenades, Facebook's playbook, extremist algorithm, malicious mascots, and a lot more. In fact, we started off with the best story of the week. BL, you have the honors. What was that best story of the week, BL?
Well, I think that the fact that there's been a global backlash against Facebook targeting teens is actually a good thing, because Facebook has, as we discussed on many occasions, not really taken responsibility for what they really are and how they're a media company and how much in impact on the public they have. So in May, a paper called The Australian uncovered something that felt like a breach in the social contract. They found this leaked confidential document prepared by Facebook that revealed that the company had offered advertisers the opportunity to target 6.4 million young users, some of them only 14 years old, during moments of what they called psychological vulnerability, such as when they felt worthless, insecure. They use these words in their posts: stressed, defeated, anxious, or like a failure. That was a 23-page document, and it was prepared for a potential advertiser, and it highlighted that Facebook could micro-target ads down to these moments when young people need a confidence boost. So Facebook had been monitoring posts, photos, interactions, and internet activity in real time to track these emotional lows. And Facebook confirmed the existence of the report, but declined to comment on the questions. And Wired also posted about this. And so, the problem is that they did this. The report claimed that the psychological insights had been culled from a database of 6.4 million younger Facebook users from Australia and New Zealand. 1.9 million of them were high school students with an average age of 16, some only 14. And a week after the document was leaked, more than 2 dozen nonprofits from the US, Europe, Brazil, and Mexico wrote a blistering public letter to Zuckerberg arguing that Facebook should release the document because the health and ethical implications were far too concerning to keep them concealed. So basically, Facebook got busted, and I have it in best instead of worse because they did get busted, and hopefully that'll lead to a change in policy.
So I'm confused. The document that you're referring to was an internal document that Facebook created to
And
pitch,
it was leaked.
to pitch to advertisers. Is that what it is?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and they're basically highlighting the fact that you can micro-target and even micro-target based on emotional reactions. Well, I honestly don't know what the big deal is about that. I mean, everybody knows that you can target emotions
because they're so young and because they're playing on kids, and they shouldn't be.
Well, I mean, that's on advertisers as well. What about nonprofits who want to use Facebook advertising to target teens that are emotionally vulnerable in order to offer them suicide hotline numbers? I mean,
I think that's a completely different thing, Dave. I really do.
It's criticizing the medium without. I mean, it's on the advertiser to use the medium ethically. I don't know. I can see it both ways, and I don't. No. All right. So we'll agree to disagree there. I have another Facebook story, and this is in best, and it might have something to do with what we just talked about. Facebook has a quality score. This is from a TechCrunch article by Josh Constein, who's always on our radar, writes great stuff. So Facebook is promising to bury links to low-quality websites and refusing to carry ads pointing to them in a newsfeed algorithm change that they've announced this past week. Facebook defines a low-quality site as one that contains little substantive content and that is covered in disruptive, shocking, or malicious ads. It includes hosting pop-up and interstitial ads, adult ads, or eye-catching but disgusting ads. You've seen them that fight fat or food fungus type of foot fungus type of ads. The change could help Facebook fight fake news because fake news propagators are often financially motivated. But it may also have the opposite effect of increasing the perceived quality of politically motivated fake news because they're driven by ideology, not money, right? So they may adjust to the algorithm by making their sites more user-friendly and more having higher perceived quality. So who knows? We'll see how that works out. But Facebook has viewed hundreds of thousands of web pages. They've identified ones that have low quality content. They've used this data to train their AI system to constantly scan new links shared in the news feed. And they're looking for ones that match their low quality site data. And then they'll demote these sites and block them from buying Facebook ads. It's a good start, I think. It's not the end all be all. Their criteria include disproportionate volume of ads relative to content on the websites, websites that feature sexually suggestive or shocking content, pages that contain malicious or deceptive ads, and use of pop-up or interstitials, which is going to disrupt a lot of legitimate advertisers, Forbes being highly among them because they have that interstitial, obnoxious interstitial ad. Star Tribune here, my local Minneapolis newspaper, uses interstitials. They're obnoxious.
Didn't you have an app, Dave, that took you?
We talked about that. An app for Forbes that it bypassed the interstitial on Forbes. Is fantastic. But anyway, Google has long had quality scores for their ads that takes into account landing page quality. So Facebook is taking page from Google's playbook in this. But it's a good development, I think. But we'll see how it plays out.
It's a start. I mean, they have such a long way to go, and the whole idea of the volume of it. I mean, billions of people, billions of posts that they have to monitor. But they really have to adhere to a strict ethical code, and they really have to. They have to step up to the fact of who they are. They're not just a social network. They're like an institution now, and that's a whole different set of beans.
Well, anyway. I've got some negative Facebook stuff in bad, so so you can forgive me on the flip side.
Okay. Well, there was a wonderful meme this week. Everybody knows about Trump's handshakes, and this was one where and everybody's seen Melania slap Trump's hand away when he tried to hold her hand twice during their overseas trip. So Sunny Hundal posted a video, and it's a picture of Trump is standing next to the Pope, and their hands are next to each other, and you see Trump's finger rub the Pope's hand, and the Pope slaps it away, and people took that to be real. And the next tweet that Sunny Hundal did was, it's fake. I thought that was pretty obvious, but it was hilarious, and it went around the world, and it's actually still going around. So I thought that was pretty damn funny.
Well, you didn't need the meme. All you needed was the actual picture of the Pope with the Trump entourage and everybody smiling except one person.
Somebody called it resting Pope face, which there was an article in the New York Times, an enraging article in the New York Times, in which they described something called resting bitch face, and that enraged an awful lot of women. So it's kind of funny to hear it as resting Pope face. But he also didn't look too happy next to Trudeau. It looked pretty miserable with him.
Well, no transition here, but this is an interesting development from a Search Engine Land article by Greg Sterling about Bing. And we don't talk about Bing a lot, but here's an interesting development from Microsoft because we don't use it a lot. But Google is the 800-pound gorilla in terms of search, but this is an interesting development. They have a bot framework. Microsoft is all about bots these days. And they are using the bot framework to start to integrate chat bots into search results. to make them more interactive and transactional. So chat functionality is now rolling out officially for restaurants through Bing Places, which I'll talk about in the cool tools, through their newly launched business bot program. So Microsoft will automatically create a bot from data that business owners enter into their Bing Places account. Businesses don't need to do anything technical. They just answer a few structured questions and accept the terms of agreement. And then after they do that, then when users search for the business, a card will appear in the search results with essential restaurant data and a chat option. So users can get basic questions through the chat option about that the business answers. Do you have outdoor seating, for example? And then the bot will answer yes or no. If there's a question it can't answer, the bot will refer the user to the phone number of the restaurant. With this functionality, then bot can add transactions within the search results pages. So you could probably order or place a, reserve a table directly in the search results. Currently, the business bots are available in Bing, Skype, and SMS, but they've got a Facebook Messenger and Cortana bots are coming soon. So interesting.
That's really interesting, that it'll be interesting to see how that applies to other search engines, right? How quickly they pick up on that. So I don't have a transition here either, but Hillary Clinton is back. She started an organization called Onward Together and is dedicated to advancing the vision that earned nearly 68 million votes in the last election. She's encouraging people to organize, get involved, and run for office. But I think what's really important about it is that it is helping organizations, progressive organizations, to communicate with each other so that the movement can get bigger. And its mission touches on the Women's March, immigration ban rallies, and efforts to fight bullying, hate, falsehoods, and divisiveness. And Howard Dean is involved in it. It's got some pretty interesting partners. And so I don't know how far it will go, but its purpose is to advance progressive values and work to build a brighter future, because right now, doesn't that look pretty dim?
Well, she was recently in the news as well for appearing at the Recode conference, where she was interviewed for, I think, an hour and a half, at least an hour.
Interview, yeah.
Yeah, and made some news there. She's certainly an influencer, but I want to talk about an influencer on a smaller scale. This is from a Star Tribune article by Amelia Reyno, and it's a portrait of a foodie as a young woman, a portrait of a food pornographer as a young one, actually. So this is an influencer. The influencer marketing has been a buzzword for many years, right? And this is a story about that. Influencer marketing kind of started with mommy bloggers. It expanded from there to Twitter influencers, and now it's Instagram and chat influencers, right? So this is an Instagram influencer. A woman named Kim Lai Curry is a suburban mom. She's 39-year-old woman from New Brighton, which is the suburb I grew up in, and she works as a heart monitor technician for a Twin Cities hospital. She's built more than 3,000 followers on Instagram by being a food pornographer. She calls herself Lil Miss Foodie. She's on Instagram at Kim L.Y. Curry, C-U-R-R-Y. Her posts have proved so popular she's been invited to local bars and restaurants, does dozens of tastings a month. She's included in events once reserved for food critics. Her days off are filled with restaurant hopping. She spends hours trying new menu items, touring kitchens, watching chefs, perching over plates of food with her iPhone. They're all iPhone photos. By day's end, this reporter had followed her around, and she'd taken 552 photos, consumed hundreds of dollars worth of food and drink, and what would result in 3 Instagram posts and a dozen Instagram stories. But it's a great read. We'll put a link to it in the show notes for anyone who's doing influencer marketing, because what too often happens is people get a list of influencers and they sort of just blind pitch them without taking the time to understand them. So really understanding what makes them tick. And this article is a great portrait of what makes this type of an influencer tick. So
Interesting. I'd like to read that. So, as everybody knows, augmented reality and virtual reality are getting to be more and more part of our everyday lives. And Gatwick became the world's first airport to use augmented reality to help passengers and airlines find each other. So they installed 2,000 beacons to enable augmented reality wayfinding for passengers, and hopefully it'll let you know that you're about to run into a pole or another passenger, but it also is letting airlines track where the passengers are who are ticketed to see if they should hold the flight for a few minutes while somebody's racing through the airport to get to their flight. And it's designed hopefully to make it easier for everybody, but I think there's going to be a lot of people running into walls and each other until people get more used to it. But you know, it's just coming to our everyday lives. That's what's happening.
Well, anything that'll help you navigate an airport, if you,
Yes,
especially if
sure.
you have to do transfers to another plane during your flight, you don't have a direct flight. I can imagine. I mean, that's a really practical use of augmented reality. So it sounds pretty
It
cool.
is, but I'm thinking about escalators and stairs and those things that move, and you know, it might be a little daunting for people.
We'll have some viral videos coming out of that, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So BL, my New York friend, I've often heard you use the phrase "flyover country." This is a response. This is from Independent Journal Review. Jenny Fink. There's a video by an organization called Circa News with a late night talk show host named Jeff Houghton, who poses as a foreign correspondent reporting from the Midwest United States. And he says, I'm here in Missouri, or as many of you may know it, Iowa, Ohio, or East Dakota. According to Houghton, America's torso consists of 12 states, and he offers a shocking revelation to Americans on the coast. There's actually a diversity of people here, and I'm told they've actually chosen to live there. Contrary to belief, the Midwest is not all farmland. While Midwesterners are often thought of being slower than the rest of the country, it turns out that the internet, through the internet, they find information the same time as everybody else. He closes this video, and we'll post that in the show notes. It's absolutely hilarious. He closes this video saying, reporting from Missouri or Wisconsin or Minnesota or West Dakota or something.
Well, you know, the classic New Yorker poster in which there's New York and California and then everything in between.
Yeah.
And I have a poster of Hugh MacLeod on my wall, and he has the United States, and it's like boring, New York, Texas. You know? I'll take a picture of it. It's very funny. Anyway, does that bring us to worse news?
Well, I got one more good one here, and then we can go to the worst. So this is from a Fast Company article by Melissa Locker. Banksy has a hotel. Did you know that?
Who does?
Banksy, the artist.
Oh, no, I did not.
Yeah, so Banksy has a hotel. It's called the Waldorf Hotel. It's in the West Bank city of Bethlehem, and it's unique, as you might imagine. Banksy having a hotel would be unique. It's getting uniquer. Now it has a soundtrack. So he's commissioned Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails fame and Atticus Ross, who has been a collaborator with Nine Inch Nails and a collaborator with Trent Reznor on the Social Network soundtrack, to compose original music, which will be played via the hotel's player piano over the next few weeks.
That's fun.
Yeah. Also slated to compose for the hotel is Hans Zimmer, who scored Interstellar and The Gladiator, and Flea, who is the bassist for Red Hot Chili Peppers, and the trip hop group Massive Attack. So a bunch of original music for player piano to be played as a soundtrack for the hotel, and we'll put the song that Trent Reznor composed in the show notes so you can listen to it. It's pretty haunting, as you might imagine. Trent Reznor's
isn't Banksy the artist that nobody can ever find?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where is the hotel? Can you find it?
It's in Bethlehem.
Oh, okay. but he's not there.
He's not there. No, you
Of
won't find
course
him.
not. So there was a big kerfuffle this week, if that brings us to worse news. I believe just yesterday, the lawyer that Trump hired said he's only going to represent him if he stops tweeting. But yesterday he tweeted at, actually the day before, right after midnight, something about the fake media and the word covfefe. And that stayed there until 6 o'clock in the morning. And by that time it had been retweeted 127,000 times. And he had said, what he said was, despite the constant negative press, covfefe. And of course that left a lot of people searching for what the hell did he mean. And so then he thought that that was a joke, but within 6 hours it had been retweeted more than 127,000 times, liked more than 162,000 times. It became one of his most popular tweets in months, although it was reported today that more than half of his followers are bots. But at any rate, it had become this massive internet joke. And at 5:48 a.m., the tweet was deleted and replaced with, "Who can figure out the true meaning of covfefe? Enjoy." And, tweeted by King 45, that old jokester. So Josh Bernoff nailed it. He said, the president is not a master manipulator of media. He is a wacko with little grasp of reality that says the first thing that comes into his mind. That is the meaning of covfefe. It's a variant of crazy. And then the headline on his article was, I figured out what covfefe means. It means we're screwed. And the Washington Post had an article about how it became a worldwide joke. And, it's still being joked about, but in fact, it does mean we're screwed. And so the worst of all was poor Sean Spicer. He's toast, as everybody knows. And he was in a position yesterday of defending the emperor having no clothes and saying that covfefe, that the people who needed to know what it means. And, he said that with a straight face. And, if he had one shred of human dignity, he would use two words now: I quit, and he'd walk away from it. But apparently he doesn't. Anyhow, covfefe.
Okay. Well, I've got my my Facebook criticism right here, so brace yourself. This is from an On the Media segment by Bob Garfield, who talks about a guy named Hani Farid, who's a computer scientist professor at Dartmouth College. He's also a senior advisor to the Counter Extremism Project and a co-creator of Photo DNA, which is an algorithm that recognizes child pornography in photos. In 2008, he started collaborating with Microsoft and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And by 2009, they had developed technology that's now in worldwide use called Photo DNA. It allows tech companies to find and remove child pornography. The problem was hard, but not nearly as hard as tech companies were saying when they were being pressured into doing something about the spread of child pornography. The problem was they weren't working on it. So Photo DNA looks like what it does is looks at inherent patterns in child pornography and then looks for them elsewhere. It creates a unique signature for child pornography and applies that to other photos. It's installed on Facebook, Flickr, Google, Dropbox at the upload point, and it scans every image that's uploaded, compares it to a signature database, and flags those that have that signature. So Farid applied the same principle to extremist content in partnership with the Counter Extremism Project, and they've developed software called eGlyph. It has the ability to analyze not just photos, but audio and video recordings as well. So now they can do it with all forms of media. Live video violence, though, is still tricky. It's incredibly complex. They're not there yet, but Farid believes that they could develop an early warning system that could flag content so that humans could then review it and make a decision on it. And you'd think about, how live video, once people see it, they react to it. So the network effect of people reacting to what they're seeing in itself could be a signal that could be flagged, right? But solving that problem that we've talked about in previous episodes, in many previous episodes, would require real effort on everyone's part, but nobody seems to be doing that right now. So Fareed and the Counterterrorism Project brought their technology to Facebook and said they would give it to them for free. They wanted to create an industry standard, but they were rebuffed. Every time something happens, Facebook sends out a news release saying how seriously they take online safety, but their answer ultimately is allowing this technology as a slippery. They're using the slippery slope argument that once you take systematic content removal for offensive content on the internet, it'll end the internet as we know it. They'll start going after the kittens next, right?
Bullshit.
Yeah, right.
Well, you know something? Back in, I would say, the late 70s, I worked with an artist named Nancy Burson, and she had developed a way, this was like pre so much of this technology, but she had developed a way of showing how faces will age. And they could do that with missing children.
Right.
And that ultimately became something that police used to show like kidnapped children and things like that. But, you know, this issue, this technology, all of this has been around for a long time. And like you said, nobody wanted to get involved in it. They don't want to deal with it. And
well,
they have to.
They've got the technology, right? He's got the technology. They're just not using it. They don't want to use it. But by their very own terms of service, they prohibit such content, right? So the technology is simply a mechanism to enforce their own terms of service. Social media companies are beginning to get sued for material support for terrorism. And it's hard to argue that they're not, right? I mean, if they're not doing anything about it, come on.
Well, that brings me to another Facebook story, in which The Guardian revealed their internal rule book on sex, terrorism, and violence at Facebook. And this is from a story by Nick Hopkins. And they have seen more than 100 internal training manuals, spreadsheets, and flowcharts at Facebook that give unprecedented insights into the blueprints that they use to moderate issues like violence, hate speech, terrorism, pornography, racism, and self-harm. And they will let users live stream self-harm. Leaked documents show that, and their internal manual shows how the site tries to strike a balance between cries for help and discouraging copycat behavior. There are even guidelines on match fixing and cannibalism. You know, this is a huge responsibility, and there needs to be a way to deal with this in a much more clear direction. And like you said, they're violating their very own terms of service, but their terms of service internally are pretty screwy. So Facebook's got a lot on its plate. I understand that. And, you know, it's got an enormous amount of content to monitor, but it has to do a better job than it's doing. That's all there is to it.
Well, I mean, they have to try. So in my previous example, they're not trying, right? So there's that. My problem with the leaked documents, I'm going to read through them to try and figure out what just to know more about Facebook. But people who want to game their system and get by those
we'll read
guidelines
them too.
are going to be reading them too, right?
Yeah.
So on a lighter note, that, this is from a PR Daily story by Kevin Allen. Mr. Met is a mascot for Major League Baseball's New York Mets. Who is in the news because he flipped the bird to fans during a recent game, which was of course caught on video, and the video is going around. We'll post the video in the show notes. It's kind of funny, but the Mets of course fired the mascot, issued an apology. They said, "We apologize for the inappropriate action of this employee. We do not condone this type of behavior. We are dealing with this matter internally. They did everything they needed to do to deal with the situation." This kind of stuff happens. I highly doubt that New York Mets fans are going to care that the Mets mascot flipped off.
Are you kidding? In New York, we don't care.
I highly doubt that any baseball player their baseball fan is really going to care all that much. I think it's kind of funny, but the internet cares and social media cares, and people who will be outraged over anything. So they did everything that they needed to do to
But
take.
you know what's funny, Dave? Nobody can see the guy. I mean, they could say they fired him. It's just some guy inside a costume. I mean, maybe they did and maybe they didn't, you know?
Frustrating season for the New York Mets. They're 5 games below 500, unlike the first place Minnesota Twins. But I said the Mets acted appropriately. The only advice I'd give them is, if they haven't already, they might want to put their mascots through media training, because everybody should know by now that everybody is filming everything. Yep.
So another brand, another insensitive promotion. This one's a corker. It's Chanel, and they have this is from a New York Times article by Vanessa Friedman, and they have a glossy black wood and resin boomerang with the with the Chanel logo, and it's $1,325. And I think it was last week you covered Nordstrom's $350 mud-stained jeans, and Zara had to withdraw a denim skirt that had a frog that looked like the white nationalist symbol Pepe the Frog. Marc Jacobs had his white models in dreadlocks. There's a whole long list. So in Australia, the home of Aboriginal culture and the boomerang for hunting, this did not go down well. The weapons part of Chanel's Spring-Summer 2017 pre-collection, which also has similarly big ticket items like tennis balls with the Chanel logo, and a tennis racket with the Chanel logo, and a surfboard with the Chanel logo. And it appears that it's not Chanel's first boomerang. They had a silver one that was $397, and a red version that was displayed in Hong Kong back in 2006. So Chanel issued this sort of quasi-apologetic statement that said sort of, Chanel is extremely committed to respecting all cultures and deeply regrets that some may have felt offended. The inspiration was taken from leisure activities from other parts of the world, and it was not our intention to disrespect the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community and the significance of the boomerang as a cultural object. However, this is not the first time that cultural appropriation has happened. Alexander Fury pointed out in T magazine that fashion's been engaged in one form or another of cultural appropriation for decades. Yves Saint Laurent's 1967 Africa collection, for example, Paul Poiret and Alexander McQueen's embrace of Orientalism. Recently, that was at the Met Museum's Art Custom Institute in a show called China Through the Looking Glass. And then there was John Galliano's 1998 Dior collection that was titled Story of Princess Pocahontas. So what changed? It's heightened by the fact that everybody can broadcast about it, and that really digital activists are newly empowered by social media, but also luxury clients are looking more for authenticity. So the thing about the Chanel boomerang, it has no story, it has no deeper meaning, and it might have been an acknowledgement of the value of that creation, but now it's just looked at as stealing. So imagine if they had enlisted, this is what Vanessa Friedman said, if they had enlisted actual Aboriginal artisans in the making of the product, if they earmarked some percentage of the sales for Aboriginal causes and spent some time with them. So instead of seeming to profit from other people's history, maybe they would enable it. And, that's what brands need to do today. And clearly that's a lesson still to be learned. So, yuck, a $1,300 boomerang with a Chanel label. Blah.
I'm sure I can find a less expensive boomerang somewhere.
But, also, Ralph Lauren, what did he do? He took jeans and made them expensive. You can look around at any fashion brand. Where are they going to get inspiration from? But this was just stupid.
Is that it for worst?
That's the only bad news I have.
All right.
I'm into shiny objects. How about you?
Let's get into shiny objects. So I got a new one, a new feature of a shiny object we all use all the time called Google. So Google Search has unveiled a new feature called the personal tab. So if you search Google and you don't see the personal tab on along with your news and images and video tab, look at the More tab, click on the More tab, and from the drop down, you should be able to choose personal. And that gives you a search of, if you're logged into your Gmail account, gives you search results from your Gmail inbox. And if you use Google Photos, of the photos that you've uploaded to Google Photos. It's only you who can see them, but it makes it a lot easier for you to access that content. And I personally use email. I send articles to myself just for reference later. I subscribe to a ton of newsletters that I don't always read, but having this search function in front of me where I'm more often going to be searching Google than looking in my Gmail account throughout the day gives me more opportunities to see that content, right? So if you're doing email marketing, if you got a newsletter or something, think about that. You might want to think about how you can use the copy in your newsletter to trigger searches as well. So it's a new interesting development. I encourage people to try it out. I've got a blog post on it that we'll include in the
Does everybody have
notes.
it, Dave? I haven't noticed.
It's rolling out. You don't notice it unless somebody points it out. So I think I don't know if everybody's got it 100% yet or not, but.
Oh, I got to take a look. That sounds really cool. So I found SmartLook, which is a free tool that records the screens of real users on your website. So you can see what they clicked on with their mouse and what they filled into a form where they spent most of their time. And it's free, and how they browse through each page. So I thought that was well worth telling you guys about.
Is that video recordings?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like InspectLit. We've talked about InspectLit before as well. That does that.
But is it free?
There's a free version, but it's mostly paid. So yeah.
Yeah, this is free, which is cool.
Very cool. So I have two more that I'm going to bundle into one because they're both the same service from different providers. So Google My Business and Bing Places are two services that both Google and Microsoft offer for businesses that want to take control of their local business listings in search results. So when you search for a business and see the panel on the right-hand side of the search results with all the information about the business, that's Google My Places. Do the same on Bing, and you get that card of information about that business. That's Bing Places as well. And most businesses and local businesses don't do this. You can claim your own listing and take control of it and optimize it by adding more information, making sure all the information is correct, uploading photos and video. And so we'll put links to these two services in the show notes, but that's something definitely if you've got a small business, if you're a small business owner or have small business clients, that's something you'd want to take a look at.
Oh, I need those, Dave. I'll tell you why in a second. So the other thing, a couple of other things. InstaBot, which is another free tool, it allows you to add a chat bot to any website. There's also this thing called Botter, B-O-T-T-R. I started one and I can't get rid of it, but it's a bot of it keeps track of all the things that you've done online, and I wish it would go away and I can't make it do that. But InstaBot will add a chat bot to your website. And something that happened on Twitter that was fun was Twitter got 69 new emoji this week, and it includes some of the sassiest ones yet: the raised eyebrow, a hand giggling emoji, and my personal favorite, the shh emoji. And there's one where there's like steam coming out of your head. I mean, there's some real, and one it's like a red face and the person's clearly cursing. So I think that's really fun. So
Cool.
Does that bring us to projects?
It does. Let's talk about them.
Okay, well, I launched funwalkers.com this week in time for Father's Day. Thank you for your help, Dave. I really appreciated you taking a look at it. And I tell you, anything like that takes 10 times more than you think it will to make a website. And start to get going on promoting it. So much to do. There's just so much to do. It's my side hustle. It's not my full-time thing. I hope it will turn into a business. It's the first thing I've ever really done where I'm not the product, so I like that aspect of it. But basically what they're 3x6-inch license plates that have funny sayings on them, and they're meant for the handlebars of walkers and rollators and scooters. And I'm thinking of them as gifts for grandparents and parents. And we got a Father's Day collection. And they say things like, yes, it was a skydiving accident, and graduated without Wikipedia, and on my way to ballet class. And you can customize them. So I hope you'll take a look at funwalkers.com. We're on Twitter, where it's funwalkersbl, because funwalk, I couldn't just get funwalkers. I started Facebook today, and I'm working my little ass off trying to get this thing going. It's a lot of work, and I'm just trying to do for myself. I'm my client at this moment, and wow, it's fun.
Very cool. Very cool. What's a rollator?
A rollator is the kind of walker that has wheels. There's the walkers that have wheels in the front, and you see them with tennis balls on the back, because otherwise they scrape. But the cool people in New York all have these things called rollators, which are made by a company called Drive, and they have a little basket in them, and they have 4 wheels, and so they're easy to get around, and they fold up so you can put them in the back of a cab.
Okay. Wow, I didn't know that. All right. Very cool. Well, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Let's wrap this up with some numbers, and this is the date we've all been waiting for. We wait for it every year for a whole year. Mary Meeker has released her 2017 Internet Trends Report that she does every year. And
335 slides.
No. 355 slides. Yes. 355 slides of information-packed, insight-packed, and dreadfully designed slides about internet trends. Among them are some of the highlights. Voice is beginning to replace typing in online queries. 20% of mobile queries were made via voice in 2016, and the accuracy is now about 95%. I think it's lower for Siri, but
I'll say.
Yep. In 10 years, Netflix went from 0 to more than 30% of home entertainment revenues in the United States. This is happening while TV viewership continues to decline. Global interactive gaming is becoming mainstream, with 2.6 billion gamers in 2017 versus 100 million in 1995. Wow. Global gaming revenue is estimated to be around 100 billion in 2016, and China is now the top market for interactive gaming. And I will also say, I called this a long time ago when I first started playing Xbox Live. This is a spectator sport. There's tons of people who are paying a lot of money to watch video games.
I find this so insane. To watch other people. Well, there's also unboxing. Go figure that one out.
Yeah, that's a thing as well. So unwrapping is a thing as well, and she mentions that in her report as well. In the U.S. in 2016, 60% of the most highly valued tech companies were founded by first or second generation Americans, and are responsible for 1.5 million employees. Those companies include tech titans like Apple, Alphabet, Amazon, and Facebook. So, yeah, immigrants do contribute to Minnesota and the United States.
And this report, I mean, you just have to read it.
Yeah, it's a must read.
Ugly as it is, yep. You have to read it.
And we'll include the report, so you can read it there at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/189.
So does that bring us to the end of Beyond Social Media Show .com/189? I am BL Ochman, and you will find me on Twitter at What's Next. I blog at What's Next Blog. I'm on YouTube at What's Next Blog. And now I'm at funwalkers.com. David Erickson is on Twitter as D. Erickson and also as The Daily Numbers. And he blogs at eStrategyBlog.com and trends.eStrategyBlog.com, and also at his company's blog, which is creativepr.com/ tell me the slash blog. And on YouTube, he's eStrategy. The show, BeyondSocialMediaShow.com on the web. On YouTube, we're Beyond Social Media Show. We're on Twitter as BS Media Show. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. So we hope that you will subscribe to the show, especially on iTunes, and leave us a review. And we hope that you will be back next week, because we'll be here next week, same time, same bat channel. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.